Hi everybody, it's Thursday, October 1st, and it's hot and steamy in LA. And I must tell you that our topic today, some might think it's also hot and steamy, but in fact, we're talking about sexual wellness. And actually, our goal in this conversation is just the opposite. You know, the Global Wellness Summit has always been a bit ahead of the curve when they name their trends every year. Did you realize that way back in 2016, they named sexual wellness as one of the trends of the year? We'll get into that, but today, to help us guide our discussion, that really is all about conversation. You know, Americans are often repressed. You know, they're accused of being repressed and obsessed with sex. So today we're going to talk to the brand manager from the #1 luxury sex tech company in the world called Lilo. She's joining us from Croatia, and I'm going to get her on the line right now. Am I? Is she there? Maybe not. We'll see. Nope. We'll keep looking for her. Yeah. All right, so to go, okay, we'll keep looking for her. But to review some of the aspects of the trend from way back in 2016, it was a landmark LGBTQ year. So rights opened up. There was a new wave of feminism. Younger generations were more open to talking about sex. And also in the wellness world, sensual healing harmony retreats started to come open. And here we have Lilo. Let's see if we can join. Can I join? Lilo, here we go. We'll see if she comes on. It's Croatia, so. And then destination spas started having couples therapy. Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
How are you?
Sorry for slight technical difficulties on my end.
Hey, we have them every week. You know, we just roll with it. That's what life is about. But welcome from
Absolutely.
Croatia.
Thank you.
Tell us,
Thank
Sarah, how
you.
to pronounce your last name.
Kranjčec Jukić. It's a mouthful.
Yeah, I don't think I can do it, so I'm going to call you Sarah. But Sarah, you know, we have been joking about this Leader Livecast because, you know, nobody likes to talk about sex, right? They're nervous about it. I wanted to thank you for turning me on to Cindy Gallup. Is that the name of the thought leader on the
Yes,
topic?
it is.
I love her quote that says, talking about sex is no different than talking about anything else. Finances, education, cooking. She said, everything great in life and business comes out of great communication. So tell us how that applies to how you brand and market Lilo.
Well, basically, I think you said it in the intro, and Cindy pretty much covered it here. That is the main principle of the matter, because what we do is we aim to educate our present and potential users because we want them to feel more comfortable talking about the topic. And in order to feel comfortable talking about sex or sexuality, anything pertaining to the area of sex, basically, you need to be educated enough about the topic to, you know, not to be able to escape the taboo of it all, to escape the stigma. And, you know, we as human beings, we tend to kind of stigmatize things that make us uncomfortable, or we don't feel like we know them well enough. And this is, I think, where all the difficulties come from.
Oh yeah, I mean, I loved I don't know which video you sent me a link, but it was interviewing people around the world, Indonesia, Jamaica, Nigeria, talking about their own comfort level of talking about sex, right? What year did you do that video?
This was actually done during quarantine. We did this in partnership with a publisher, The Cut. Our digital media unit secured this piece of content, and it was one of let's say more fun, like one of the funner projects to work on, because you have all of these people talking to you from the comfort of their home, creating videos. And some of them, for them, this was the very first time that they have not only like owned up to owning a sex toy, but they actually showed it on camera. And you know, I cannot imagine how that felt to someone, you know, who hasn't been able to do something like this before. So I'm very proud of that video.
Yeah, and you could see like one. I think the girl in Jamaica. She said, "We don't talk about it in my family. It's
Yeah.
never discussed." Another guy said, "You just find out in the street." But as the girl from Jamaica was talking, her dad came in, and she's like, "Okay," she stopped talking. But something that really touched me is the discussion between Cindy Gallop and it was a gentleman who wrote a book that we should look up before we leave. But they were talking about um, decorum and appropriateness in the not
Mhm.
decorum but appropriateness in the bedroom and sensitivity, kindness, generosity. They said those things are just as important in the bedroom as they are in the business world or in your other personal relationships. Now, who talks
Exactly.
about that? I say.
I know, like when we talk about sex, we usually just talk about, and I'm gonna just put it out there, like top 10 ways to satisfy your man, or now in 2020, how to satisfy your partner. But the end result is the same. We talk about the end results without actually giving you the means on how to get to it. And to circle back to the beginning, we're talking about basic communication. And like in all communication, in your professional life, in your life with your friends, the same basic rules apply. You need to feel comfortable with the person that you're talking to, and you need to feel comfortable with the topic, and that is pretty much it. Which is why, as someone working in the industry that I'm working with, in the position that I am at, my job is substantially harder than it should be, because we're talking about a very basic human need. And we're definitely not talking about it enough.
Yeah, and it says here that this is something we've been biologically programmed to enjoy with another person. And of course, Lilo says, or by yourself. But a majority of doctors don't even bring sex up to their patients, right? So, Sarah, how have you approached it let's just talk about social media alone. How
Hmm.
have you approached that communication platform?
Absolutely. So it's like you mentioned, the part about the doctors. You either you won't personally go to your doctor and talk to him about it because you don't feel comfortable with the topic. But when you go online and you Google and you search and you browse various social media channels, you still cannot reach like verified quality information. And what we decided to do is to start collaborating with professionals in the fields, be it psychotherapists, sex therapists, doctor, gynecologists, especially someone who is an expert in the field of human sexuality. And this is where, for me, like one of the best partnerships that I've had in the past couple of years has been with our current panel of experts, and that would be Dr. Lori Mintz, Jana Brangalova, and Casey from Queer Sex Therapy. And Dr. Lori has been a gigantic help because she is specializing in human psychology. She's a tenured professor at the University of Florida, and this is her absolute specialty. And her insights into communication between between partners and into communication about sex in general, have really brought that extra oomph to our social media content. And this is what has our followers coming back, and this is what has them asking questions, because they know they will receive an actual good quality answer.
Well,
So
I was
I think
listening to her.
that's it.
I was listening to Lori's Dr. Mintz's TED Talk last night. And, it was really funny how it ends up being a social justice conversation. Like,
Yes.
you have the right to talk about what pleases you with your partner. You shouldn't be embarrassed about it. And women, you know, her survey said only 4% of women say that penetration is a reliable route to orgasm. But, that's not how it works for most women, and yet they're afraid to even talk about it. They just fake it, right?
Yeah. And this is a very vicious cycle, because since women, so people who actually own the vaginas, we don't talk about this, and we don't talk about the fact that penetration isn't really a 100% verified good way to go for us. There isn't a way for your partner to know what works for you unless you actually talk to him about it. I mean, I would love to have the ability to read other people's minds, but it just doesn't work that way, and it's not working that way in sex either. And, you know, what I always say to myself, to my friends, to like my younger cousins, you know, if you're old enough to do it, then you're old enough to talk about it.
Wow.
And, you know,
Yeah.
that is pretty much the entire, you know, the gist of it.
Right. And also, I love that you brought up the very sad fact that the average age of children seeing hardcore porn online is 8 years old. Some people say 6. So if we
Yeah,
don't start talking about reality, I think that that author
exactly.
said he tries to position it like it's a superhero movie or whatever. It's not real because expectations, disappointment, whatever, um, you know, hurt both people. So it's really great that you guys have the courage to take a stand for things like this. So, Sarah, can you tell me a bit about your background? How did you get to this position?
Well, like it's a very funny story. So let me like let me take you to the beginning. I double majored in Latin and Latin literature and public relations and
Latin.
journalism. Yes, and for a good 5 years, I was absolutely certain that, you know, I would like get a PhD, you know, and do Latin like research old text, translate them, whatever have you. And then I graduated, and it's very hard to find work in that area, and especially as a woman, I'll tell you.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of naturally veered towards PR because this is, you know, at the time that I was finishing college, it was a booming industry. And as luck would have it, I landed in fashion PR, and it was a huge adjustment for me because fashion was not on the top of my list of priorities in life. But it taught me a lot of the tricks that I'm applying to marketing Lelo now, because, you know, for Lelo, first and foremost, it's about design. It's about the aspiration of it all. You know, it's an aspiring brand. You wanna treat yourself to the experience of purchasing it, of treating yourself, of owning it. And this is what, you know, repping like high fashion teaches you. So
Well,
that's the parallel line I drew from that.
that's how you did it. And full disclosure, my a girl I mentored that worked with me from the time she graduated college has grown up to be a lovely, wonderful woman, and she works with Lilo now. That's how I met you. But also, such that word decorum comes up again. She said we have to be even more professional because people can give the wrong stigma to the company, right, that we work for.
People definitely don't expect when they walk into our offices or when they talk to our employees, again, especially female employees, the first question is, my God, so what do you do for Lelo? Do you test the toys? And like, no, I do very serious work, and I do a lot of spreadsheets and Skype calls, and it's not half as fun as you think it is. It's fun, it's just not that fun. And you know, that's the stigma. If you work for a brand like Lelo or whatever other brand, you're automatically assigned as someone who works in porn, in sex. It doesn't matter what you do. And it's not just about stigma, it's about basic stereotypes. You know, if you work in the adult industry, you do you, but you should not be judged based on that.
No, and it's fascinating to read about Lilo. It's 17 years old. It was founded in Sweden.
Sweden.
You're in 50 international markets, and I don't know if you do it now, but you started making also, it's silicone, so you started making these face scrubbers as well. I don't know what you call them.
No.
No, not those.
No, that's not us.
Oh, really? So you didn't have those.
No,
But
no, no. We never. Lilo never had those, but our sister company did.
our
So,
sister company,
yeah, yeah.
and also menstrual cups too. Is
Menstrual
that
Cups is by Intimina. It's Lilo's younger sister, and it's a brand that's very close to my heart because we're basically fighting the same battle. Period stigma, sexual stigma. It comes to the same point basically.
you
But
don't talk about
yes,
it, right? Right.
we don't talk about it, and as a brand that's been present for a long time, it's like one of the sad truths that, this is something that hasn't changed. And I've been with the company for 3 years now, and I can tell you that I see strides being made in this area, because stuff that we're doing now, I cannot imagine us doing this 3 years ago. For example, we sponsored a tour for a content creator and comedian, Tovale. And she is she's a mom, who does mom things. And besides that, she's a content creator, and she gets her inspiration from her daily life. And 3 years ago, I don't see us approaching someone like that and saying, hey, Tola, would you like to endorse a couple of sex toys on stage during your book tour in, next year? And like just this year before the lockdown, my last day of freedom was spent in New York, watching her show and watching her, talk into our wand massager, poking fun at everyone who would, rather she not talk about it.
Talk about it. Yeah. And then I saw the link you sent to Stevie, who is a beautiful, funny comedian, but she's also um, disabled, and she's a lesbian, and she talks. She's very funny. How she talks about the whole thing, but not in a condescending way or
exactly
shameful way.
It's very relatable, and this is where and we're also developing a side project related to peer-to-peer sexual education, because this is where your social responsibility as an international brand comes in, and this is that you need to make a lasting impact in the society that you work in and exist in, and it should not be a negative one. So basically, Stevie is the very, very first influencer I ever worked with when I joined the company, and she's very close to my heart. But the power of her content comes from the fact that she's very authentic, and the people who listen to her, who watch her videos, they come to her because they know they can trust her judgment. She doesn't work with brands or people that she doesn't believe in. And and as long as I have these kinds of people collaborate with a brand, I know that we're on the right path.
So if people are listening, it's Cindy Gallup they can look up. It's Dr. Mintz, Lori Mintz, Laurie, right? And it's Stevie. I couldn't find anything but Stevie, and she has 750,000 YouTube followers. So someone is listening to her. So how do you find these influencers and try to approach them for an elegant exchange?
Well, when we first started, it was a lot of Googling, and the community was very, very small and very, very close knit. And it was, hard to kind of get in there and, get them to see your side of things. But, a little by little, we started having these conversations. And from basic Googling, we worked up to influencer agencies and our own pretty, pretty big digital media unit that has a paid content team inside it. And so, when all of these people come together, we can turn up a pretty impressive list of names. And also, from our point of view as a brand, we won't work with, just about anyone. We need to align on like the basic values we have as a brand. And, with this content creator, we need to agree on the basic things. That's pretty much like the only standard.
So if you can share with us, Sara, how has the shutdown affected Lilo? I think it will be surprising news, or not, to some.
Well, there's been a lot of articles on this topic lately, and yes, Lelo and pretty much a lot of brands in our industry have experienced explosive growth during the months in the lockdown. So I'm talking about almost 144% compared to the same period last year during the months of March, April, May, and June. So peak lockdown months in most of the world. And that's only what we saw in your basic sales revenue. But an even bigger boom happened in our communication and in the way that we started really truly impacting not just our followers but reaching new people by focusing on their needs during that period. And it also taught us a lot as a brand.
And if people look at Lilo Official, the Instagram page, it isn't smarmy. It's sort of fun in a very, you go from illustrations to real people. How do you decide what to do?
Well, most of the time, we just talk to our followers and ask them what they want to see. But we try to have all of the artwork on our Instagram page and pretty much other social media profiles follow our PR stories, our blog stories or blog articles, and draw inspiration from there. And also, since our social media team is a global team and it's rather small actually, and hi girls, thank you for all your hard work. They are doing their very best to scout for amazing content creators, that could do some of that work for them. So we try to feature as many illustrators, as many like small influencers that can do, something to elevate the brand further, and they're aligned with us. And, this is kind of our little, contribution to having their voices seen, having their voices heard and their work seen, because we have, the brand clout and we can do this for them.
Well, what people need to know too is it's the design that makes the difference. I mean, I talk about you and Erica being elegant and sophisticated in your own deportment, comportment, but she had told me you were considering getting involved, having displays at festivals and situations like that, like, I don't know, Coachella and whatever. But yeah. I mean, the minute people see you, or see your brand, they have to decide, is it like Fredericks of Hollywood or is it something different? And your design awards, tell us about your design awards, why it's so unique.
We have many a design award under our belt, including a Cannes Lion for product design for Aura 2, I think, our clitoral massager. I'm sorry, it's kind of late here. And we also have several Red Dot Awards, several IF Design Awards, and all of them have been hard won by our product design and product development teams. And, every year we kind of try to surpass ourselves a little bit. So actually, if you go on Lelo.com right now and you search for Soraya Wave, you'll see brand new assets that we just did during one of our biggest photo shoots ever, all during quarantine. That was a mammoth effort, and the team that did it had down. I don't know how they survived, but it was amazing, and I can't wait to brag with the results.
Oh, well, it says here that you also sell one of the most expensive vibrators in the world, a 24-karat gold-plated vibrator that costs $15,000 US. Yes. And I saw stainless steel, something that looked like a Porsche gear shifter. I don't know. All I'm saying to you is that it doesn't have to be embarrassing, is I think the point I'm trying to make. Now tell me, what could other companies learn from Lilo's experience during the shutdown?
Now, it's going to sound very silly when I say this, but it's about, stop making a huge deal out of something that is very common sense. So basically, when the lockdown struck and we got on this big marketing call, so what are we going to do now? We have to keep producing content, but we're not in the office. We have to do this. We have to do that. And then, we kind of cooled down a little bit and just asked ourselves, well, I asked myself, what would I want to see if I were quarantining at home and I'm, just sick and tired of the pandemic and life in general. And during this part of quarantine, we also had a pretty serious earthquake in Zagreb, where we're sitting right now. And all of this kind of boiled over, and we just, told ourselves, pardon my French, but screw it, let's just educate, let's distract and entertain our audience, and hope for the best. And that was the best strategy we could have employed during that period, because we actually put our people first, and they noticed, and they appreciated it.
Put your customers first, which you should always do.
Our customers, I don't like calling them customers, but yes, put them first, because they are the ones that are helping us grow and thrive.
Well, I also loved how it looks like you listen. You listen to your customers, the way those kids from around the world, they were younger people, I'd say under 30, talk about, sexual taboos in their culture. And really, you being in Croatia, the founders being in Sweden, the Global Wellness Summit is global too, right? And we are all a planet of mankind. And I just love that global perspective. Now, tell me what book or podcast, you have an unusual job. When you go into a cocktail party and someone says, what do you do, Sara? So how do you get inspiration?
How do I? How do I
How
get
do you get
inspired?
inspiration? Yeah,
How do I
what
get
book, what,
inspiration?
yeah, what
Oh
book,
my God.
TED Talk?
There's so many of these things, and especially if you were a Latin major like I was, there's some raunchy text, text that I had to translate. But on a serious note, we already spoke about Cindy Gallop, and I caught her TED Talk years before I even thought about, Lelo or sex toys in general. And it kind of pointed me in that direction of thinking, because it was, I think, in 2009 when she was introducing her Make Love Not Porn platform. And basically her fight and that was her way of fighting hardcore pornography and what it's doing to our minds and perception of sex. And that led me spiraling down this path, looking for more content. And this is how I actually found out about Dr. Mintz and everyone else. But what inspires me personally, I guess, don't know. Like, it's mostly people around me, I think. Like, I hear a story from my friend talking about some random thing that happened to her today. And it just kind of gets me thinking, okay, so this is so very relatable. Like, what can I do with this? How will I don't know. I'll tell her story. We did a whole contest a couple of years ago about sharing your horrible, shameful, embarrassing stories from from having sex with someone.
Sexual
and
encounters.
and it was like super super relatable, because we had people from all walks of life sharing what's basically the same story. We walk into a room and we get naked and it's super awkward, and if you draw one wrong move, you're scarred for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And this is like the regular day-to-day things that it's what I like to draw inspiration from, because I don't want to turn either my job or sex into this huge thing that is overcomplicated when it's so simple.
But also, I do believe, with the Me Too movement, we come back to self-confidence and what is good for you. What we say about social justice and consideration. We
Yeah,
have to train our girls what's all right to accept or not. And, that sex is a natural thing, but it's also an intimacy builder. So unless you want to build the
exactly.
intimacy, don't do it, right? And I don't just mean girls, because poor guys need encouragement too. So tell us, so would you say you're a female targeted company that also has lots of male customers? Is that how it goes, or how is Lilo?
No, we're actually targeting pretty much everyone, because we're just selling the tools and experience that will get you the pleasure. When you look at our analytics, when you just look at the hard numbers, the fun fact is that our audience gender split is almost 50-50. And we have a very big product portfolio that's catering to men, but and we also have a much bigger product portfolio catering to women. But especially today, when we're talking about gender and identity, I'm just kind of trying to tone down on the separation, on the differentiation, and just talk about sex as a whole. And this is actually where the wellness part of it all happened for us, when we started talking about sex and thinking about sex as a basic human need. So if you go and wellness has been around for how long a period of time, and if you think about it, you're going to take care of your skin, your nails, your hair, your mind, your spirit, your body, whatever you want. But you're not gonna say, I'm checking into a sexual wellness facility, because it doesn't exist. And even if it did, you would not say it out loud. But you
Or
can
talk to your
definitely
doctor about it, right?
absolutely. And your
Right.
doctor won't recommend it unless it's a pretty cool doctor. And that is the absolute worst for me, that I have friends in couple therapy that are not being taught the basics of communication between partner. And why would one partner feel so very dissatisfied? Why would one partner feel like they're not attractive or good enough in bed? Because and that's all because of the lack of feedback from the other party. You know, why is this so complicated? You know, and it's all because we're not and I see a comment here, and it's because we're not comfortable with our sexuality. A lot of women are not, a lot of people are not. It goes the same for men. We are not comfortable talking about this, and it goes back like ages. It's been a long time, you know, before the 2000s, that we actually spoke about sex in such a public forum. And it's going to take us a long time to build back to the basic fact that sex is one of the basic human needs, and, you know, should be addressed and treated as such. So we should be talking about it.
Someone said, why are women shamed for doing this? That could go on for hours, but I will tell you, Sarah, I've loved this conversation. Let's keep in touch. I think it's a beginning, right? We need to keep
a good beginning.
So let's look forward to crossing paths again. I hope in Croatia for my sake. But keep up the good work.
As soon as the travel ban is done, come to us, and we will keep up the good work in the meantime.
Okay. And keep busy. It's a great story.
We will. Thank you so much for the invitation and for this wonderful chat.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.